So, yeah, well, I just got to the end of Book 2's STF3 scenes. We're not going to be able to do 3. Just going to have to worry about it. Well, if there's 3 left, we'll do 3 later. But so far, here's the bridge of these 2 scenes of Book 2 are in the can. Just to run on ahead and do the ship scenes of Book 2, because there weren't that many. There aren't that many in 3 either. But we'll see what they look like from the dailies, and hopefully everything's fine. Yeah, so that's it, really. Okay. Alrighty then. It is August 23rd, Wednesday. And these are back to back pretty much. So we're beginning with the next exciting episode here. Making of briefly. Try to cut down on screw ups. The camera does something, or you try to adjust a figure, turn it off, and just get fix them. So yeah, we have got making of. We have a scene starting on page 1 of the Maximals. Slight revision from the story. It would seem that the Autobots and the Robotechs are in some kind of landing bay, not in the base. So they're in a landing bay on the STF3. Well, Jack and Karen and everybody, they're all in the same room. That'll just make it easier to film. All right. So. Okay, so let's do this. So, making of. We have an interesting situation with Jack and Karen and Jetfire here. Jack and Karen don't appear again in the story until after page 100. And Skyfire on 96. They're literally way off in the future. I think around 120 or something, like near the end. So we can't kill them off. That would be messed up there in the next one. But they're clearly not main characters. And Jetfire is in it briefly on before 100. So we're gonna have to add something that explains where they took off to. So this is what I'm gonna do. And they're not in trouble, they just got taken somewhere. So let's do that. Yeah, breaking into the fourth wall here. Kill it, silly Kelly. Okay, so we have a curiosity in here, the first day of filming on episode 2. Some of the characters come in and go out of the story instantly. They're just never mentioned again. Like Jack and Karen, who aren't mentioned until pretty much the last, like the last act, the big fight, the last 40-50 minutes of the story, the last third, I guess. But this is a little longer than part 1, so it's probably 3 hours and 10 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that, altogether. So it's a little longer. And they come in again. Jetfire comes in again about page 90 something, 96, and then they come in the 120s, I think. And so it's a long way off. They're not main characters. They're just out there in the background. This first part is roughly the first 50 minutes is mainly about the Decepticons, the Decepticon Invid getting back together, and we're not really concerned with so much in the story with what the Autobots are doing. So it's the darker middle chapter, and then this was the part done by Stormy, and Stormy was okay with it. So, but yeah, so the other stuff is at T.L. Aaron's. So, and it's completely different, and it's the human colony and all that. It's quite a sea change when you get to that part. When you get to the second 2 acts, it's mainly drama on the colony planet. It's a police procedural action thing with the doppelgangers and all that. And it's kind of what it stays. But there's Robotech in it here and there. But it's for the most part about the G.I. Joes and Dana and Max and Maria on the planet. And the Decepticons are doing their own thing. And the Regis actually doesn't show up until later either. so she's not really around for a while, just so you know. So kind of what I had to do there with that added scene was explain where they went. I didn't need to necessarily explain where they went, but I thought that they were just, it's a plot hole if I didn't explain that they got lost or something. Because otherwise it's a plot hole. It's like, why didn't they go looking for them? So that's where Jetfire is. He's off looking for them for like 90 pages, basically. I'm assuming he found them at some point. Yeah, so. But yeah, which could be the case if you have a planet the size of Earth, roughly. I'm not sure where it is in the universe, and you and you have a scouting party that goes down the planet with no satellites anywhere orbiting the planet. They can't track them each other. Only satellites you'd have would be the ones the ship sends out, and it just got there. Sending out a scouting party to a planet the size of the Earth, you could easily lose members of your team. The transponders and stuff that would work with the satellites wouldn't, because they don't have any satellites. Yeah. Also the Robotech jargon. I'll make a note that we kind of fudged the first story being in the Centaurus system just to get there quickly. Just would be only 4 years. That kind of mixes up the other two where they. Yeah, where is Hadon 4? Well, it was even sillier in the Macross story because yeah, it just doesn't match up at all. The Southern Cross stuff was added, connected to it, and then Space Climber was connected to that. Robotech was 3 different series. They connected them. They didn't care where the planets were. At least it wasn't as bad as Star Blazers, where they were like, okay, it's another galaxy. They're gonna go to another galaxy. The Gamelons have all of the universe to look around, and they want Earth out of. It's just ridiculous that from another galaxy. Why wouldn't that make more sense to say that Star Blazers took place within the local group, within the local star group as well, and was just nearby? And it takes them a year to get there and back, and it's fine. Well, it would be a close by star because that would make sense. And their fold system isn't any more powerful than it. And in Robotech, it's the same idea. The fold system is going to close by stars. They're not across the galaxy, because that makes no sense. 0 sense. So you have, yeah, and in Macross, in the end of Macross, they kind of devastated the Earth. How did they get millions of them to go on a ship in Macross 7? Go off. I think they wouldn't have had millions of ships, millions of people, unless there were Zentratis. Or maybe the Earth wasn't completely devastated and there were millions of them left. Would they agree to go on a ship? I don't know. When did they build it? They didn't explain. They just did it. After the Mega Road 2 was lost, which is consistent with that cliffhanger at the end of Robotech, although in that case they were just adding that to the end of the invasion when it wasn't the Expeditionary Force Wreck Hunter, it was just some Expeditionary Force. So you've got fan zines and sites on the internet that looked up trying to figure out what the planets are. They can't. The first one, the Master's Planet, is probably then sure Centaurus. Closest one, 5-year mission, getting there. They didn't know it was 5 years. Something wrong with the fold system. We don't need to make something wrong with the fold system for the next 2 planets. That's not necessary. They could have fixed it. They could have fixed it and made it work better. And maybe it's only 3 or 4 years to this one, and then 3 or 4 years to the other one. We don't want to have them like lost in space across the galaxy kind of thing. So whatever. The ending, we filmed bridge scenes for both of these, for part 2 and part 3 already. When we filmed the bridge scenes for part 1, because why not? They were very short. They're hardly ever on the bridge at all. Mainly it's the drama on the planet. This one, which is consistent with the novels, which is interesting. And although they did do some of the space battles, yeah, they did do some of that, and the Regent doing stuff. It's mainly about the Regent. Should be about the Regent. The second half should be the darker chapter. So Hadon 4, as far as I can figure, is either in the direction of it's got to be in the same direction as the other stars, as seen from the Southern Cross, but it's not a Southern Cross. It's a more of a diamond, because that makes more sense, a diamond shape. And near as I can figure, we're talking about a Hadon. We're talking about the Invid planet possibly being near Barnard, if not Barnard itself, or near it. It's an old enough K-dwarf, but it can't be any further than Barnard. So you're basically limited to Hadon has to be under 10 light years from Sol, because you're kind of like, well, where is it? If it's or if it's just a little more than 10 light years from Sol, if it's like Sirius or Procyon, then you have to say, okay, well, let's say it is Procyon. That's where it is. That's where Hadon 4 is. Then that's 12 light years from the Earth, and then you gotta suss in how they get there. Faster fold system, obviously, because then it would be 12 more years, and it would be 2030 something already, almost 2040, and they'd be halfway out there. And they'd be, no, it's not, clearly. They fixed it, so it took them some months getting there, but not years. So sure, Procyon, sure, why not? And that's in the direction of Sirius and Bernard, so it could be that way in the asterism that is the diamond shape, the Southern Cross, which would be visible from Earth across the sky as opposed to southern. Yeah, the whole name doesn't match at all. I'm assuming that the original Southern Cross was. Assuming the other Southern Cross was something else. Yeah. So. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna film the one Autobot scene that's in here until page 15. They show up again. I'm gonna film that. And the Decepticon scenes. I'm not sure all of this gets done today or not, but we'll see. We'll see what gets done. Yeah, so they're not a lot extra. So yeah, Procyon and Sirius are when you see stars in a star map things, and it's not just getting to the star; it's from the other ones, from their perspective. They're not just close because they're close. They're further away from each other. If you chose Wolf 359 from Star Trek, for instance, if you're going the wrong direction, it'd take forever to get there. It would be twice as long because you're going the other way. The sun is 00 in arc seconds. Kentaurus is 0 and 64 down or something. It's definitely south. So if they were talking about the Southern Cross, they would have been talking about Centaurus. So the Master's homeworld is Centaurus. And you'd think the Invid homeworld would be fairly close by to Centaurus. Unfortunately, the other ones are too far away. Like if you said, okay, the Pavonis stars, they're down there in the south. It could be those. Nope, too far off. 20 light years or more, and it's too far off. It can't be them. So, too far off. It can't be Epsilon Indi. It almost could be, but that's I think that's a young star, actually, as it turns out. Epsilon Indi and Epsilon Eridani are young stars, and they wouldn't have any planets. So that's viable planets, too. So Procyon and Sirius probably wouldn't, but you figure it's a machine planet, and maybe they went there. It's a colony. So, Vegas too far away. 26 light years. The other direction. Yeah, Vegas too far away. So Bernard is about 7 light years from the sun, 6.5 or so, and that would be from where they return, from Bernard star. It's a red dwarf. Because even though a red dwarf K-type star may not have planets that are viable, the Invid are energy beings that were uplifted by the Masters, so their planet was terraformed. So or up-terraformed. Yeah. So that's how that happened. So they terraformed it. The proto-masters were very advanced, and they were able to do that. They were a Type 3 civilization, and they were able to do that. The masters that are currently there, like Cabell and them, are not those same people. Obviously, they're humanoid like leftovers. the same people. The Masters are supposed to be evil, and yeah, their motivation is a little weird. But yeah, that's Robotech for you. But in the original, they were the Zor Lords, which is even sillier. So there you go. And also, Tia learns this Talomsky is not a male in this; it's a female, just to make it different. But she does got the voice, got the accent. Talomsky. You figure she's got a New York accent, you know. Because you figure, you know, she kind of sounds like a pot boiler cop, you know. But yes, so yeah, Beyond is the flamboyant Truman Capote character. We meet him later. So there's a machine running out there, lawnmower. Yeah, I'm not going to film at this point, I guess, until that's over. So this is a scene retake of page 3. Optimal Zor is a little low. Page 3. Optimal Zor's 2 lines, and then we'll go on to the Decepticons. And we are rolling. So here we are on Wednesday night. There's about 9 minutes of tape left, and we've completed up to middle of page 11 of episode 2. And yeah, Silly Kelly on set. Yeah, since they let up on the strike, Silly Kelly is back on the set. Oh, no, it had nothing to do with that. I'm not in the Writers Guild. Just kidding. Yeah, so yeah, to help out the production, because I'm better with the visuals and stuff. Setting up the characters and doing the scenes takes a little longer, but visually you won't need to change anything in the camera later because it'll be lined up. So yeah, I'll just do the next 2. It's fine. But yeah, there was a little added here and there. There was, of course, the Karen scene where she drops out of the story. Karen and Jack just disappear. Apparently, they're they're stranded on the planet somewhere. They're apparently not important to the rest of the story. We might catch up with them later on in the story. Also, there were scenes in the script that had Andromeda show up in the Decepticon base, and that didn't make sense. And Astraquace was also there, and that didn't make sense because he was changed to the other guy in the other script. So I just made Andromeda's lines and Astraquace's lines the Regis, because what happened to the Regis? Apparently, she and the other Ritter, as protoform robots, were spaced by Regent on his way to the planet. That's why they don't show up until later, and they kind of just... Well, they know Ritter shows up now. So apparently he's been able to use his spark energy, his wraith energy or whatever, to reconstitute himself. He just figured out how to do it. Because he's an advanced being. He figured out how to do it. And the reason the Regis couldn't be killed is because she already is kind of ethereal anyway. So she's already a space plasma being. So yeah, they put her out in space. She's just going to come back. She followed them down the planet. Yeah, she probably doesn't appear much. Other than that, without her in it, Andromeda isn't even in it at all. And there's a couple of other guys. Yeah, Maximus is kind of in it in the background. Some other ones are gone. Yeah, this is the Stormy story. This is the first hour of the movie, and so yeah, the first hour, the Stormy story. And I think this version of this Stormy, don't know him, but I think he is a trans or possibly LGBT male, judging by how the writing style is, and that he's written a Transformers story where he likes Decepticons, so he's on a par with Rasha. So that's cool, because we did a Rasha story in there too. So it's neat. Yeah, so he's on a par with, he's on the same wavelength. So this whole scene with the critter, the other Ritter, is cool. Originally in the story, Ritter was not in book 1 at all, but we put him in book 1 at the end because he fit there. So yeah, there's this weird continuity gap. That's because you wanted to have an opening scene with him at the end of the other story because there really wasn't a battle. So Ritter's in the end of this one. So yeah, what's going on? And it fits that he's reconstituted again here, because they've been doing that all through the first book with the Invid Regis keeps getting captured and then leaving her body and coming back, and captured and leaving her body and coming back. So he does that too. And she doesn't like that. She's afraid of it. That's what's going on. So, not for the evening. Done for the evening. Tomorrow. Absolutely no sense. Just saying that I'm not Slavic, so I'm trying to fake accent. Any European or Greek person would be like, he's from California, isn't he? Yeah, it really doesn't sound like yes, here's an appearance by this guy who's apparently been gone until, for a little while. So here is, and it should be him and not the Indie Queen. So here we go. And that can be making of, I guess. Okay, when setting up for the Optimo scene, let it be known that the right of oneness is from Marvel Comics, not from the DC British Comics. Also, so we're gonna go on to here's the thing. Making a brief mention there. So the booklet isn't finished, but the episode is. The episode that was this early warning episode is finished. There's 2 pages of the Max and Miria story coming up. So, but we're probably not doing that tonight. That would have to require setting up a new set, doing that, and going on to do that. And we just wanted to complete this first segment and get that in the can, even though there's a few pages of the next one in there. And it makes more sense. There was never any original footage of Jack and Karen disappear from the series at the beginning. And they imply that they're going to be rescued in the dialogue because they're never mentioned again until the end. They're not main characters in the story. The story ends up being mostly everybody else other than them, the Sterling story. The Cobra Commander guy is clearly, well, it's G.I. Joe Cobra Commander from the movie, but the live action movies, with a helmet, a Daft Punk helmet. He's not supposed to be him. He's supposed to be Laszlo Zand's brother. Which is Zand in the script. It's not. It couldn't be Laszlo Zand though. It's got to be like an Invid agent or something. But there's a bunch of hints in there. There's we get to Mylene, who is the sort of like the Transdector robot voice of the machine and the thing. Is sort of a bad guy in this universe because she hasn't met the good guys yet. Our human or Zentradi person gets destroyed, or Veritech gets destroyed, but her Invid part is eternal. It's a energy being. Can't kill it. It's still around. And that goes to visit the Queen and the other guy instead of Apollonicus in that scene. So she's dead. So we're probably not going to see that character again at this point. She's in an ethereal plane on the other side or whatever. So I don't really want to set up the Max House stuff yet. And do that just because that would require another episode. I was just trying to finish the 44 pages of this early warning and be done with the first hour, basically. And then have that done, say the first hour. If it's a 3-hour play, then you have the first hour. The other stuff is start of the T.L. Aaron stuff, which takes over the whole thing all the way to the end. But knowing that the first hour is pretty much Transformers, and the last hour of book 3 is Transformers, you have sort of this other stuff going on. They could have just made it 2, but that would have been. No, I wanted to show Hate on Far, and I wanted to show the Invid and all that. So that's what we did. Done for the evening. For watch the daily. I'm not gonna. I don't think I need to show visually the Robotechs getting rescued. I could just for shits and giggles, I guess. And just so you know where to, I guess, add it later. Making of. I had to do a little pickup of the Galvatron there. one scene. We're gonna do. We didn't want to have to strike the set and start up with the next episode in the timeline. There was that first just an early warning, and then there's the max one after it. It's 44 minutes, or it's 44 pages. And it usually maxes out at 50 minutes. That's roughly the hour there. So it looks like that's what it is. There's isn't much added, so it should line up with the first hour. The rest is D.L. Aaron stuff. This was just an early warning that we just completed, and it's a revenge fantasy from somebody named Stormy, who decided that the Decepticons should win and defeat their enemy. Not exactly difficult plot. The Ritter is and that sort of the reboot of Ritter thing is in the script like that from the original. Ritter was a character that followed through on some of the other stories, so we did other Ritter stories. So we thought Ritter would be a fun new addition to the Decepticon cause thing, because he's in some of the other fan stories on Lexicon. So that'd be kind of fun to have him in there. Sort of this version's Moonracer. Moonracer was in a bunch of stories. That's before Windblade, way before Windblade in the 90s. So there you go. So yeah, different stuff. And so far they're not coming out with. They're coming out with somebody that kind of looks like her, but it's not. Yeah. And the Beast thing, Rise of the Beasts, Nightbird is probably supposed to be Night Racer. It's probably who that's supposed to be, really. Yeah, different colors. Yeah, so or is Lancer Night Racer? Then they'd have to pay homage to Raksha. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to pay royalties to another fan out there. The thing. So we have a basic Transformer story. The Decepticons are kind of out of the story for a while now. They've done their thing, and they'll pop up now and then. But now it's the Doppelgangers versus the Sterlings, with the Autobots thrown in, and lots of Talomsky. So yes, this is that saga, the Taylor saga. It's coming up, and we did. It's heavily edited, because if it was done as the original version, YouTube would flag it, even if it's plastic figures. It was very gory and stuff. It was like a splatter comedy, but still, it was very. We can't actually film that. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't really film that like that. So they're just going to suggest things that are going on. It is weird that the cult leader is after the Sterlings, but the way I figure it is like in the books when they played Laszlo Zand and his assistant relative were doing stuff behind the scenes in the Robotech thing. This is another Zand, and he wants revenge for Laszlo Zand being thrown in jail and probably dying on Earth. So he's a human that's been gone crazy and probably is slightly possessed by an Invid shadow person, and he is he wants them because they threw him in jail because he's crazy. They threw his brother in jail, or his relative. They're also with the Robotech backstory. Jack Baker was literally supposed to be the Mike guy from Mark guy, I think, from Robotech the movie, and they discovered there was a copyright problem with Megazone 2-3, and they couldn't. Which that movie was mostly Megazone 2-3, and they couldn't use that character, so they would have changed him to Jack Baker, even though he was this other guy from that series. Even though it wouldn't match up, really. They didn't think about it at the time, but it doesn't match up. Because if he was Jack Baker from the earlier story, and he was going on the mission, he wouldn't be in the Sentinels. He would be too young. He would be the previous generation. He would be like Dana Sterling's age. He would be like a teenager, a preteen or something. It wouldn't work. So it's a good thing they didn't do that. And also he was going to be the nephew of B.D. Edwards. And they decided not to do that either. That would have been odd. And the little homage scene that I filmed there at the end with them being rescued was just because they drop out of the story and they're not there. So I had little hints that they were being rescued throughout the story. Toward the end of the ship thing. and then decided to play off a little bit friendly banter thing on a rejected Kal Kat story, where these two soldier guys are trapped on trapped in somewhere, and they can't get away, and they apparently got frisky with each other because they thought they were going to be killed, and that embarrassed them. So the kind of was cribbing that from Robotech anyway, because Rick and Min-May in part of the ship when it closed down was kind of the same thing. So I kind of stole that from Robotech to begin with. So now it goes full circle, and now it's Jack and Karen trapped in a thing. Also, that's in the books. So yeah, it's so I put it in there and I say like, okay, they're getting rescued, and they're in like some containment units on the planet. It's like in a town somewhere, and the Robotechs are off to the side. They're in a town. So when Flint and the others come up, and they're apparently in another box, they're not in the box. They just come up to containment units that have been strewn on the ground, and that's where they find them in the shelters. Which is yeah, so it works. It works. It's a little funky, but it works, and it establishes that our heroes were getting frisky, and they and Jameson's all, I think we're already too late. Okay. Yeah, so they didn't die, but something else. And Talomsky, of course, being a potboiler detective, is just like, well, I'm sure they did, but this isn't an interrogation. They go back to base, and then they can be interrogated later or something. Yeah. Cheesy New York accent. Which Californians are pretty good at doing fake New York accents, because a lot of Los Angeles was settled by New Yorkers. So, yeah. San Francisco, too, as well. So, yeah, we can do the New York accent pretty well. Yeah, so what? You're trying to sound like you're from Manhattan and you're from Queens? I don't know. Anyways, never been. Anyway, never been. But relatives have been. So, New York. But yeah, that's why Hollywood likes mobster movies and stuff. New York and Chicago, the mobster movies. That's why, because they were descended from that. But they started over here in Irvington, in that area. Hollywood started up here, and it went down to L.A. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm rambling on about that, but it's part of Robotech, so it works. Okay, next. Forgot to charge it. Scene pickups. There's a few scenes of Ritter in the spaceship that he sags down to the right, but to the camera left. And I want to do those over. But first, I want to do the scene with General Flint and Jameson in the cargo bay, because it looked like they were also in the cargo bay with the two lost Veritech pilots, and it doesn't make sense that they would be like literally with them in the same cargo bay. So what I want to do is put up a barrier next to them, so it looks like they are in some sort of a junkyard that they found, and they're being rescued from the junkyard. So in order to light that properly, so that it kind of matches, yeah, their junkyard. So let's do that. And I added a line for him, and since it was ad-libbed anyway, kind of needs to be in the story. Just go through it. I made the dialogue from them a little clearer. Yeah, so we have a few scene reshoots there today on Saturday, and yeah, I want to do a few Ritter reshoots just to make. Doesn't need to be all of it. The ship scenes are fine in a lot of places, but there's two crucial moments where he suddenly dips. We want to do that. I was trying to explain, like, which is kind of off topic, but related to Transformers meets Robotech, the original from the 2000s, which was released in 2014, 2012, 2014, 2012 and 2014. And 2020, in 2021, 2020, they re-released it. So we have. There was a scene where we were making fun of G.I. Joe the movie, because it's basically G.I. Joe meets the Transformers, and as Robotech people and G.I. Joe. And it was like the second generation of G.I. Joes. It was like the Deke crossover version of them, and there was a scene, we got our PG-13 rating, in which we were spoofing the G.I. Joe the movie. And what happened to G.I. Joe the movie that was in production when Transformers the cartoon movie was in production, and there was a backlash after Optimus Prime was killed in that movie. Fans were like, "Oh God, dare you kill Optimus Prime?" As a half Decepticon, I thought it was funny. Yeah, and years later there was a guy that was. He switched sides to the Autobots now. It was funny. Yeah, so he was a local, but the during the Michael Bay movies, yeah. So years 20 years later, he was there, same guy. That was weird. But yeah, I was one of the show fans. Anyway, so we have G.I. Joe the movie. They were gonna kill Duke like they killed Optimus Prime. So they had like Serpentor, the snake, drives it into his heart, and he goes, oh, he's gone, And they were going to kill Duke, just like they killed Optimus Prime, because they figured, oh, we'll do that. They didn't realize the backlash, and Hasbro was like, we were there. And they were like, oh, it wasn't our fault, though, not this one. That was Beast Machines was our fault, but that was years later, in the 90s. But yes, but yes, we'll take some of the credit for Beast Machines. Well, the other friend from Lego will take some credit for that. But I won't. I thought it was a bad idea to do Beast Machines. Anyway, Duke dies, and the test audience hated that because they hated the Prime Death one. So they redubbed over the movie at the end credits where he's obviously dead, and they've defeated Cobra Law, and they're like, oh, they defeated him, and they defeated them, and oh, in memory of Duke, we're gonna yo Joe, he's survived, but it's bittersweet ending, yay, and they hated that. So they had to throw in a dubbed line of a guy that didn't quite sound like Doc at headquarters going, this is Doc at headquarters, Duke's going to be A-OK. It's like, he's come out of his coma. It's like, no, he didn't. They just, and then it got sold to Deke within a year. So Deke Productions did another season of it, and then it died. And Duke was in that one just like nothing happened later on, like in season 2 of that. But yeah. And G.I. Joe was reinvigorated in the 2000s, along with the Transformers movie. The G.I. Joe movies didn't do as well, though. The second one was a little better. They got Cobra Commander wrong, which is why I throw in the Daft Punk Cobra Commander here. That's the guy from the 2009 movie. That's the G.I. Joe the movie Cobra Commander. But it's probably supposed to be him, actually. But no, it's supposed to be Laszlo Zan's brother who wants revenge, who's been on the ship as sort of a spirit proto-devlin. And that's how he's been following them along the planets, and he's been on Tyrol, and now he's on Hadon, and he'll be on Invid Planet too. So he's around. He's sort of a proto-devil. So he's Laszlo Zan's brother, which makes his motivation make sense, even though it's kind of silly that he would be this mega villain guy that would decide, I am going to lead the doppelganger gang to destroy the Sterlings. But in the books, there was B.D. Edwards, and Edwards, and the nephew of, supposed to be the uncle of the Mark character or the Jack Baker character. And he was actually doing the same thing, being all this snidely whiplash evil villain guy, oddly enough played by the voice actor of Roy Fokker, which was weird. And he was supposed to be in the Sentinels doing his thing, so we had to have a Edwards-type character who wasn't Edwards, because it couldn't be, because of the plague. And Edwards just wasn't around. He didn't do the same things in this one, because at the end of Shared Hallucinations, I think he's dead. Yeah, I think he got killed. So he's not around, but there's the Invid Spiritual thing going on. So yeah, so anyway, back to the Duke scene. In Transtech, I wanted to explain the other thing, but so back to Transtech and also the Invid lady, the Invid girl, Mylene, is the first daughter of the Regis from Robotech. But as the energy being side of her, the spiritua side of her, she is omnipresent, omnipotent. You can't kill her. I mean, her actual spirit is not going to be, she's an energy being. You couldn't kill her, so she's around. And she hasn't learned the lessons the other one did from living among the Robotech people. She's on the Queen's side. She's in the Shadow Realm, and it makes sense because she's like this other guy, a Shadow guy. Now we go back to fake reality. Robotech meets the Transformers meets Robotech. Transtech, yes, that's Transtech, and that was after Beast Wars, and Transtech, and in that one we have Duke, who returns. He's like the second Duke, and he's beat up by the Cobra guys and stuff. You're not the original Duke, you're the other Duke, and whatever, because he's the second Duke. Because they implied that the first Duke did die. They said it in dialogue. He did die. They just made it, they covered it up and replaced him with somebody else. You know, like James Bond keeps replacing himself. And so the Cobra Ninja, who is not supposed to be Storm Shadow, it's just a Cobra Ninja. Random. I wanted to make it as random as possible. It's not somebody important like Storm Shadow. It's just some Cobra Ninja guy he fights with, and the Cobra Ninja guy beheads him, cuts his head right off. Whoosh, there's gore shooting out, blah, everywhere, and Lifeline rushes over, playing Doc, and goes, "Oh my God, Duke's in a coma again. Men, we gotta rescue him right now." And then Stalker gathers up his head. And the other guy's like, "Doc, he's not in a coma. His head is gone. It's over there." Yeah. And he carries off the body without a head. They can't find the head nowhere. There's a PG-13 rating. A little G.I. Joe with his head chopped off. Then we earned it again with a infamous Strasberg demanding Devastator fire. The CEO, so he wanted revenge as well from his company because he's that narcissistic and twisted and that he's like, I want some. Get revenge as a company that fired me. I'm going to kill them all. Oh, because he's a splatterpunk kind of guy. So he's like, I get Devastator from the Decepticons to help me destroy the company and take over and build robots. So he basically comes out, and I'm sure Mark Scarge can do that voice better. But he gets him, and although the scene with the firing was actually me doing the voice, I should have redubbed it, but I didn't. You could kind of tell. Anyway, so we have Gorky from G.I. Joe as the guy, the bear guy, getting blown up by having Destro, having Devastator load him up into his cannon and fire him. That would be hilarious. It's basically a throwback to high school days when we did stuff like that with drawing paper. Drawing paper, junior high and high school. Well, high school, yeah, because Transformers came out when I was 14, high school. Early 50s, yeah, or late junior high, early high school. And so, yeah, we had like Megatron doing stuff like that. You'd fire the teacher, which would technically, if a kid did that today, would end up in the counselor's office going like, okay, are you really going to get a giant robot and load the teacher up into a cannon and fire him? So I just had that would be funny to put it in a story. This is ridiculous. It's like, we're gonna get a cannon that big, and we can like, so yeah. So he, that's the deal. But yes, it fires him into a wall. He's like stuck in a wall. Yeah, and Simultech back then, the live-action buildings that were used in Simultech of Metashod were actually not behind the Walmart in Milpitas. Those buildings weren't built yet. This is like 2000, when we envisioned where the buildings were in 2001, 2002, and then a little later in 2007. We envisioned the buildings as being over by Mission College and Great America Parkway, so the Great America Parkway complex with the buildings and then the Mission College. And it was cool because in Space Bridge, we had a relative on the set, and we're like, and Allison as her, and that was the only time there was ever a girl in Transnet. And and she was like, yeah, these buildings keep out of Mission College, just go and use them from Google or something. So we like Google Earth the buildings from Mission College. She went there, and we're like, oh yeah, we'll just Google Earth it. We don't need to drive over there. So these cheap Google Earth images that are really bad of like from Google Maps of the Simultech, even though it's a business. And there's like, yeah, you can kind of see that there's like stores, fronts and stuff, and the theater and other stuff on Great America Parkway and Mission Boulevard in San Jose. Mission College Boulevard in San Jose. And you're like, wait a minute. Oh, that's where that is. Okay. Yeah, that definitely looks like Simultech. Yeah, it does. the college campus was more powerful there in that universe. Because it's really the only place where they could fit. If it was the Walmart one, there wouldn't be enough room back then to go over there, and there wouldn't have been a building there. And if it was downtown somewhere, it wouldn't have worked in San Jose because it was too crowded. But at Mission College, there's fields back then that went up to the edge of the theater building and the other Great America complex. So the Transformers could have landed there fairly easily. They could have landed the SDF-3 back there in the 90-acre lot. Almost. Not quite. And then it worked. So, yeah, that was Mission College. The Simultech was at Mission College. So, next to it. It wasn't it was Great America Parkway. And some of those buildings are still there today. You can look them up. They are still there. And, yeah, there's more stuff around them. But, yeah, they're still there. Parking lot is now Mercado Theaters. And, yeah, so AMC Mercado. It's a Simultech parking lot. It was the AMC Mercado Theater parking lot. I'm not sure how that works, but it kind of does. So, yeah, that's what Simultech was. The Simultech was a big deal in the other stuff. There's a space bridge over there, yeah. So it was not Sunnyvale, it was San Jose. Also, we recently went on a train ride up north, and we went past the to the Roseville, and went past the other stadium that was in the story was the Oakland Coliseum. I think it was said to be the Moscone Center, but no, it was the Oakland Coliseum. That's what it was supposed to be. And it's the attack on Oakland. Because around here in the Bay Area, Oakland is the joke. The butt of jokes. Because Oakland or Alviso. And we thought Oakland was harkening back to the Trans series, Transformers. And I thought it was fun. So, Oakland. So over the Oakland Coliseum, the evil Archieburger blows himself up. Schonberger blows himself up after quoting Shakespeare's "to be or not to be" speech, because we thought that would be funny over the stadium. And nowadays, now that I think it looks abandoned. There's like graffiti all over the sides of it. It looks like Strawberg accomplished his goal and messed it up. So, yeah, I don't know if it is abandoned, but I think maybe it isn't. It just looks like hell on the train station side of it. It was rebuilt since then. Because Strawberg's original plan, the evil Strawberg, and there's an Alison Strawberg in this one, it's a different timeline, where she's alive and he's dead, which is interesting. In this timeline, it is a different timeline, even from ours. So you don't really need to worry about Space Bridge, because all of this is a different timeline, where elements of Space Bridge touched it, but it's not quite the same. So you can just do whatever. It's like those Macross sequels. They aren't exactly Macross. They don't exactly match up. They've got like Macross 2 was 80 years later, doesn't match up. They got Macross Plus, which Planet Eden doesn't quite match up. How would they have gotten there? Where did they get 1 million more people? Doesn't really work. Macross 7 with a band and Max Sterling in charge of the ship doesn't really match with Macross before it. Doesn't really match with Macross Plus, except some of the Veritex are the same. But yeah, Macross Delta and Frontier, even less. Although with Delta, you get a homage to Mega Road 2, and you get a reference to that. And the SDF-1 ships fight each other at the end. The SDF-3 or 4 ships fight each other several generations later. And of course, yeah, that's how you would end a Macross Delta movie. You would have friggin' Battle Fortress, the whole like miles tall Battle Fortress fighting another one. Of course you'd do that. Or would you go from there? A planet fighting them? But no, the ships fight each other. Makes more sense. The M maneuver thing. The Lady M might be Marlene, not Min May, but it's probably not Min. It's probably Marlene. Yeah. Also, I read up on I'm just rambling on about this because it's interesting because I was looking it up. Dana and Aurora and apparently Macross, apparently the Robotech Saga, the other one, doesn't quite line up with. Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't quite line up with Shadow Chronicles, which also is kind of its own continuity. Really, it's like 3 years after the war should be over, and everything's kicked up 2 or 3 years, and so that Mylene can be the daughter of Max and Miria and not Aurora, and it kind of makes an error of their ages and stuff, and really they didn't have to do that, and they've kind of retconned her as Maya. She's not Maya. She should be No, or, I think it's wrong. It's in the Robotech wiki and the other one. But if it lines up with Robotech, that's not Aurora. That's Aurora's little sister. That's Aurora and Dana's little sister. If it lines up with the continuity going the other way. She should be 17 or 18 in that story. And she should have been born like earlier than the events of the other story. That should be the third daughter of Max and Miria, not the second. Because then it makes sense. Because then it lines up with the other continuity. It's not. They say no, it's not. It's not. Oh yeah, so there we go. I say in this timeline, I kind of fix that a little bit because I say like, oh, there's a Dana, there's an Aurora, and there's a Maya, but Maya is younger by about a year. So there's three teenagers. They're younger. It's just a little younger. So she's there, but very briefly. But yeah. So yeah, maybe Aurora is masquerading as Maya just because jealousy or something. I don't know. But yeah, we'll find out about the Sterlings later. Also there's the. Also there's I love making a rambling. But it's about Robotech. Anyway, so there's also we should get on with the other footage though. I think we should get on with that footage. But yeah, so the Maya Dana thing. You figure Dana was, if it's following the original Robotech timeline accurately, and it kind of isn't. Dana was born in, well, during the Robotech War. At some point after, before the Reconstruction stories of Robotech or Macross, and she was born in 2012 something. 2011, 2012. So now she'd be 13 or 14. And or slightly older even, but the timeline is screwed up, so she's a little. So Maya would have allegedly been born in 2024, but there's one in between there somewhere. So yeah. But in this universe, she was born earlier. They were both born earlier. All three of them were born earlier. So there's Max Sterling mentions in the story that Dana and Bowie is an adopted child from the Emersons, and he's roughly a year younger than Dana, and so they were like 2012 and 2014 or something like that, and then you have Aurora, who was probably born in 2016, which makes her a little just in her teens or preteens or teens. There's Aurora. Maya would be born in later on in the 2020 or so. 2019, 2020, possibly. That would make sense. Then the one that we meet in Robotech, the Shadow Chronicles, is actually the third daughter of Max and Miria, and it all lines up. Actually, it kind of lines up with Macross 7 too. The Mylene in Macross 7 is Maya. It's the same girl. Or it could be a fourth one named Mylene, named after Marlene, who was born in 2030 to line up with that show, because I think that's 2045 in that one. So yeah, Mylene, yeah. So the later one, the last daughter of Max and Miria. And that show is weird anyway, because they let her be in a band with a bunch of older people and that are considerably older than her, and she can be a singer, and they don't think that's weird. And then in that show, they because it's Japanese, they have a thing for this kind of schoolgirl thing. Miria in that series tries to set her up with Gamlin, who is probably 19, but because he has gray hair, he looks older because he's got gray hair. They should have drawn his character like with black hair or pink hair or something weird to make him look like he's not like 45, because that's creepy as hell. It's really creepy. No, don't do that. That has some issues. And why are they letting her hang out with Basira, who's clearly the same age as Gamlin, but is in his teens? But still, Come on, she's the man manager. It's weird. And the show takes place for the benefit of the band, not the students. But yeah, let's get on with some Ritter footage. So, so yeah, if you want to know a little more about the Haydenite. The Haydenites are supposed to be the children of Shadow according to the... Which kind of doesn't really make sense. According to the Tommy Yoon books and the Shadow Chronicles from 2006. And they kind of are here too, but they're a little more sinister. You think the Robotech people wouldn't want to really like ally with them? They do the Trojan horse thing with the weapons, and they become the children of the Shadow from the Robotech perspective. That story being from the last 4 episodes of Symphony of Life for Robotech, the Invid Invasion, New Generation, Space Climber, Mesopedia, from the aspect of the Expeditionary Force, which they've changed quite a lot. It's kind of its own universe. At that point, they kind of established that, yeah, Shadow Chronicles is kind of a different timeline with different things happening. There's retcon Maya's in there and all that. And the Power Matrix is in there. Well, not really. So Haydon here is later, he goes and meets in the ethereal plane. He escapes. He goes to the ethereal plane and he meets Regis and Mylene. He kills Mylene's battle armor and her human form, her humanoid form. But her spirit is not dead. So they don't actually kill the lady. Her spirit is alive and gone to see the Regis. And he goes to see them both in the spirit realm. And so that implies, she can just come back if she wants, as the other. And because they haven't had the Invid War, and they haven't done that, and they haven't had her memories messed up and all that in the Invid War, it hasn't happened yet, or it might not happen, she is still loyal to the Invid. So that makes sense. She's loyal to the Invid. It means that she was actually controlled by the Invid Mylene, even though she was supposed to be the Meltrandi commander, Lady Celeria. Celeria was controlled by the Invid, which is kind of, obvious. It's kind of obvious. Why would we work for her? Well, she's under the control of the Invid lady. Another of the offspring. Korg would also be there somewhere, but maybe not. I don't think he's directly there. The evil cult leader guy is not supposed to be Korg. It's somebody else. It's a Zand character. One of the other Zands. That makes sense, sort of. Granted, it is a little silly, but then again, so is Songstress Saving the Galaxy. The other show. So, there's no Songstress Saving the Galaxy. No Sirens Saving the Galaxy this time. Because we really didn't want to have to write music for this. But yes, so we have Ritter, who has a power matrix within him. He's got like a Decepticon matrix, an Invid matrix. That kind of makes sense, because it seems that leaders of the Haydenite would have something like a matrix, because they are Cybertronians, apparently, and they are related to the Transformers. So they are a lost colony of the Transformers, which is cool. The Autobots are too, the Kaminarians are too, they imply that maybe what they're really seeing is Caminus from the IDW, that they're actually on one of the Transformer Combiner planets, and they just don't realize it. The doppelgangers or the transtectors, and it's cool that the word transtector kind of has the word transtech in it, like transtech was always part of it from the beginning, the Japanese continuity in this one. That's awesome. Of course it was. It was on purpose. And that the transtectors are the headmasters and the target masters. And the Nebulons. Maybe this is Nebulos. Maybe this is the planet Nebulos that they've landed on. Which would be interesting, because then it would not be that far off. And the Nebulos. Maybe this, and it probably is Nebulos, because if you think about it, they have a sensor nebula. They have a subspace universe pocket thing. And it would go with also the Align Continuity and the Netflix show, when they go to a Nebulos-like planet and they find Scorponok stuck on the base. That would be an orbit of Nebulos in the subspace pocket. So, strangely enough, it fits. And this story was written before the original story was written before the Netflix show by a dozen years or so. The story is originally the story of a G1 story with what's her name? Stormy. Story his name, their name, but their name, trans person, who was they wanted to do a story with focusing on the Decepticons and their assassin Ritter, and we thought that was really cool. So we introduced Ritter at the very end, tail end of the last one, but then said no, that was another Ritter. That wasn't this Ritter. It was one of his other forms, like the Invid lady. So there was a hint that he's similar to the Invid. He can do that uplifting thing as well. He can transmute himself, which would make him nigh indestructible, because you couldn't actually kill him. He would, which also begs the question, and you kind of have to, and it's kind of neat to explain it. If you have, this is going to be a long making up thing. So it does make sense in the story that Mylene Solaria could control his mind, which is that makes sense. She'd be a higher life form than him in his mind. If she could get into his mind, she could mess with him. But so when they go to kill Solaria, they realize, okay, we can't let her get into our mind. We have to zap her before that happens, so that she can't affect our minds. So Galvatron, or Hadon, essentially a regent, essentially says, okay, well, we're going to shoot. We're both going to shoot her, and we're all three of us blast her, confusing the mind so it's fragmented, so it can't tell what we're doing. We're going to zap her from the other universe and bring her into the shadow realm, the shadow people. So they know what they're doing. And if they have control of a subspace pocket where they can do that, they would be nigh indistinguishable from magic. They're not really magic. They just have technology, which is an Arthur C. Clarke thing from years ago. Arthur C. Clarke, where he said that any sufficient technology would be indistinguishable from magic, which means that if it was like a Cat 2 or Cat 3 civilization, they would appear so advanced to us that we would appear to be magical, and they just have powers that are beyond us. The alien, the Dryden in Canary Space, one of his stories, for instance, where they have the Dryden who have mental powers that are beyond us by eons, and we defeat them because of the raw brute force of humanity. That's just, if we think chaotically, we'll throw them off, basically. So, and then they become distracted, and then the Earth forces blast them, because they can. If they just chaotically, don't follow their patterns, and okay, they're influencing the patterns of our brains somehow with our technology. If we just go in and blast them, then they have no defense against that. They're thrown out kind of creative way for the heroes to win that particular fight with the energy beings, which is kind of like what they were implying with the Inbit in the original Japanese version of Robotech, the original Macross Discrete series, the Space Climber. The Inbit weren't necessarily after protoculture flowers. They were just trying to make a new homeworld on the Earth. It just happened to work. It wasn't protoculture. It was the flower of life. It was something else. They were trying to they thought they were illumination of the galaxy because they've been uplifted, and they thought that they were higher life forms. But as they went through with the Earth Genesis pit and all that, they figured out, we're not the higher life forms of this planet. Humanity is, so we should leave. And basically the expeditionary force showing up to fight them was really just them discovering, we should go elsewhere because these guys are too primitive for us, which is actually kind of messed up. So the whole space war thing taking over the Earth, they just decide Earth isn't relevant. We can go somewhere else where there's other resources on another planet. It'll probably be better. So they take off. Which is amusing that they hadn't figured that out. If they're space energy beings, you think they would be like, hey, no. But here we are on Hadon 4, the Invid planet. It's Hadon 4. And it read on to book 3 a little bit, and was like, this is kind of messed up too. But yeah, so I'm going to charge the camera. It'll take a while, and then go and film some more of this episode into the Sterling soap opera story. Not sure how we're gonna. Yeah, we'll try to film that. But yeah, I wanted to just go on a little more about what's going on Hate on 4 here. And yeah, they didn't really care about where they were doing things. The Sensor Nebula was sort of an amorphous idea. Robotech was mistranslating what it was, but that's fine. It's sort of an ethereal plane, subspace. This version is truer to what it actually was than Robotech. It's more like the Macross version. It's more like the Space Climber version. Yeah. With a little bit of the Zor Lords and the other thing thrown in. So this is actually closer to the Japanese version. To what they meant. With the other realm, the ethereal plane, the other space, which goes up with this too. There's a lot of like crossover with the Transformers doing that. And I think that's just because, well, it was originally Japanese Diaclone. Transformers was Diaclone originally. So this Diaclone, the Yanzu thing, Diaclone. I'm going to butcher some names. But basically Diaclone Wars was Transformers. And also Takara and the other ones that did that. And Bandai. Yeah, so the Transformers. But the Diaclone became more like Gundam as it went on and became its own thing. And then became Gundam. Sort of. It started some of the same people did Gundam. And Evangelion and yeah, stuff like that. But not Robotech, oddly enough. They didn't do any Robotech stuff. But they, some of the Robotech people ended up on Voltron. But not this one. It's just the fun. You can go look up the history of Robotech and the history of the Japanese Robotech on YouTube. There's plenty of people that have done some awesome stuff and have referenced us too, which is fun. So like, oh yeah, this other Robotech fan did a bunch of stuff on the backstory. It's just as good. Here he is over here, you know. But yeah, I'm no expert on that. Although the original Cranston cast member from the original back in high school, junior high, thought that I was the Robotech god. I knew all about Robotech. I didn't. I was just watching the show like he was. I was not familiar with the Japanese one yet. I knew there kind of was one, but I didn't know what it was yet at that point in the 80s. Now you can say that the guru, the grandfather of fan film, Transformer fan films, has done Robotech. The Myriad reference is also fun too, because Macross is Atari Island, basically. And Atari, yes, Atari. That's where that name comes from. Atari, the Atari company, same island, Japan, and also so Macross. I assumed the word meant myriad, because large group of Robotech people doing something generation, and myriad to Macross was a trans tech scene. Which the Robotech Jetfire... I wanted to explain how the Robotech Jetfire was in Transformers, because it kind of didn't make sense. So he had like this backstory where he'd come from Robotech to begin with. And he was in that universe. The continuity already became a multiverse when that happened. So they were already known. Yeah, so how did they get Transformer technology? Robotech. I know the Transformers started in 84, 85, so it's a little before. But Robotech, technically as Macross, started in 83, so technically they were earlier than Diaclone, but about the same time as Diaclone. But they weren't buddies. Bandai and Takara were rivals at that point. Takara and then Tomy then got together. Yeah, and also, some fan, on the last episode, wondered why we didn't put a dedication to Ahmed Aragarama of Robotech, who passed away at age 93, around a little after the announcement that Robotech was freed up to do Macross stuff in Japan. They said lifted up the ban on the Robotech stuff. We didn't actually know that he died in 2002, but he was the last producer of Robotech, and the fans, he's controversial because he was holding Robotech hostage for 35 years. So we're probably not even dedicating this one to him, but it's fine. Some of the actors have passed too as well. So yeah, I think they have passed. I think the actress that played Dana is still alive, but they thought she died. But yeah, she's still alive. It's the other one that played Rook and Karen Penn that died. Yeah, the other one's still alive. But yeah, yeah, it's a different person. The characters look similar. The actresses did not. I think Gregory Smegoff is still alive. Scott Bernard. I think also Cam Clark is still alive. Yeah, so Max Sterling. Yeah, and Lancer. I think he's still alive. Also in the Transformers, Peter Cullen is still alive. He's in mid-80s. And we got Frank Welker, who's in his late 80s. And yeah, they're still around. So yeah, sure. And the Optimus Prime in the Rise of the Beast timeline is from the Transtech Space Bridge timeline, so he's a slightly different Optimus Prime. He's the Optimus Prime from, if you go back to the Trans 2 series, he's the Trans 2 Optimus Prime. He's the one that gets his butt kicked in the Trans 2 series and then reborn in the wrestling episode. So the Till 1 wrestling episode, everybody's favorite of, that's where that Prime comes from, so you know. So he's from that timeline, the 1990s timeline with the altered Prime. Interestingly enough, the Scourge, masochistic Prime Scourge guy in the movie, is from Transtech, from the other continuity from our. So we're making this a multiverse way back when, way back when, because the original was in production in the 2000s and the aught 10s. But yes, the Transtech finished before the aught 10s, but then put up on YouTube in 2012 and 2014 and 2020 as Transformers meets Robotech, Transtech. We gave you Transtech. They didn't want to do it. We did it. So we gave you the Transformers meets Robotech. And this is Robotech meets the Transformers. A lot of ramblies, but fine, sure, why not? This is going to be a longer continuity, I think, this one. So yeah, I'm going to charge this now. Camera. Here we are on Saturday, and yeah, this is the Max Sterling scene in the house set. Scene that we've been lollygagging on about doing, and it is the beginning of. We already did the Miria stuff. Lisa and Miria arguing, and it is a month since the last episode, and according to the story. And the one with the aliens, and so this whole jump of almost a month, yeah. And we have Max and crew here. We've got Max, Miria, Aurora, Dana, and Bowie. Anyway, so. Or did I do that right? Or is that Aurora? That's Dana. Max, Miria, Dana, Aurora, and Bowie. And it is the Bowie from the other scene. Roadblock was going to be Bowie, and we decided, no, too obvious. So he's not. And this episode is called Blood, part of this Testament series. Blood and Water. Yeah, so 21-minute episode. And yeah, so it's part of the Testament series. It's from T.L. Ahrens. And let's start it. And in the script it is changed, so yeah, so that Ritter can be in the scene. So we are going to start rolling, and I'll pause. Okay, Max and Mary on a screen, and the kids looking at the screen. So it's cheating the scene, so the audience watching the show can see what's going on. So yeah, they're looking at them over here, and that's what's going on. So yeah, so let's do this. We are continuing this episode because it is practically over. This episode, so we want to continue with a Rick and Lang and others scene, and yeah, and that's what we're gonna do. So this is a scene in the meeting room, We're going to go right to the action. Yeah, so I decided to slightly change the ending of this episode so that the Sterlings in the ship, they implied that a little time had passed. And they rushed back from the ship to be with the kids, because otherwise the ending of the episode is kind of messed up and just drops with no explanation. So I just implied that the SDF-3 people got in a shuttle and flew over to the house and helped them at the end, because then that would make sense. Because the sci-fi, but also cop drama, so they show up. But yeah, and there had to be some sort of comeuppance line in their cop show. So so that's in there. So it's implied that it's maybe a couple hours later. I mean, the ship is in orbit or nearby or parked, so they're not that far off that they couldn't turn around and go rescue them. And then they're going to rush them off to the hospital. And the Robotechs could get there quickly. They could get in Veritex and fly over there. They did. We didn't get to see any Veritex in the scene. We don't have to. I wanted to convey that the parents weren't total asshole jerks. And that they actually would turn around and try to save them. Because otherwise, people would quit watching the story at that point and go like, "What? Meg, they didn't turn around and stop the trap." I like how the trap worked in the story, though. That was cool. I liked how the bad guys worked out. And when you edit together the scene where she's talking to them on the phone, you would graft, of course, their dialogue, then hers, then theirs, and then hers. But I decided to do that little bit so that you get the inference right away in the scene. And yeah, so I did the scene over again with Miria over and over, and then Dana and Aurora. So then you put them all together, and the worry of the acting is what pulls out the scene. The acting in the scene. So you wanted the acting. You wanted to actually appear. You have plastic action figures. You wanted to make it appear like it was scary. So I think we conveyed that. So the bad guys were after something that Dana and Aurora have allegedly, or they were just being harassing. The master guy told them to get. Maybe they're under the delusion that they somehow have a matrix or something, or some sort of power device or something. I think that's the implication of the story. The other episodes imply that Bowie had some kind of device that he stole from them, and that's what they were after. But if they're asking for Dana and Aurora to pull it out, then I'm not sure. So it was probably more they just wanted to harass them, prove they were there, and give them a message. Sort of like a mob, saying like, "Okay, we have a message for you. Hey, we're going to rough up the house and get the ants stoned and then leave you." So actually the kind of uneasiness of the teen characters kind of tells them they should have stayed and not gone out there, but part of a T.L. Aaron story. Also, you have, because he's British, you have the sort of the strict British school element in there that's kind of fun. That they're going to expel like a junior higher, which is like, why? What? Would they really do that? Well, they might in England. End up in a delinquent school or something. But yeah, so there's that. But interesting episode. Done for the evening. So yeah, done for the evening. Put all the figures back. Done for the evening. So, this morning before the church cast, came up with the brilliant idea of watching I watched the dailies last night and a little bit this morning. I was thinking, like, is that technically a plot hole? With in the script, in the original script, the cops show up to help the kids and take them to the space hospital in the name of the Transformers. And the Transformers are there too, but we took that out because I thought introducing the Autobots into that cop scene doesn't make sense. It's just weird and goofy, so I didn't want to do that. So it's too soon, basically. So I thought, wait a minute, can anybody else phase shift? in the space ethereal plane realm thing, and doesn't connect to the other episode, the headaches and the aurora and that kind of thing. Aurora is the aurora, you see. I thought, you know what actually would make more sense after sleeping on it? What would happen if if Dana's connection to Maya is kind of like Stranger Things, but yeah, it's a little bit like that. Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing. He wasn't. This is before Stranger Things. This guy wrote this 15 years ago, so it's the typical. Well, Stranger Things is borrowing from a lot of Stephen King stuff, the ethereal plane, the other side, The Shining, that kind of thing. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. The shine of Gunslinger and so forth. The shapings of the protoculture, the shadow realm, the dead space in the Transformers universe, the other space in the dead Transformers universe as well, in the Transformers universe. A lot of other places like that, Valhalla, Perdition, Heaven, whatever, other planes of existence. Yeah, so she's got a connection to that because she's half Zentradi. She's got a little more than Dana. And she was able to contact Dana as Aurora in the Master Saga when she was older. Not much older, actually. So across space and time. So she has powers connecting her to the shaping of the protoculture. She's part of the Master's protoculture thing. She's part of Penon, whatever. They indicate that Maya in this universe died during the mission at some point, off screen, and that she kind of joined with it. She became the M character of the ship. She's not the Min May. It's not Mylene. It's Maya, which ties into the kind of ties into Robotech Mega Road too. Yeah, which they didn't do, and then they caught up on 40, 50 years later in Macross Delta. So I know it sounds convoluted, but basically she has powers. She has the power to shift space-time and mess with it and stuff. And so does Dana, but not to that extent. For some reason, Dana is more human, more diluted, I guess. The genes work differently. For Dana, she doesn't quite have space powers. She has some, but they can't manifest imaginary creatures. And it didn't make sense that Bowie chased off the bad guys, if there was a whole bunch of bad guys. So I decided, okay, he didn't. They were looking at other bad guys, like the main bad guy and the other two bad guys in front of them the whole time. Like, where's the device? So I put the main bad guy in there, put that in there. And then I thought, okay, here's what's going to happen. She is the pensive girl from Chronicles of Narnia, so she's the older one. But yeah, and that's a Padme Amidala as Dana, Padme's assistant. So there's a Star Wars figure in there, so it's a weird connection. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be Dana. Anyway, so we have. So what's going on is because she has a connection to the protoculture, there's somebody from the protoculture working behind the scenes to manifest her reality, to make things work for her. So there's a guardian angel, but this guardian angel actually has like tangible powers. Who would that be? Who would the guardian angel be? And it's implied to manifest later in the stories as another version of an older Dana, another version of the Ant, other people. But in this case, she's a little younger, slightly, and there's different things going on. So I thought, okay, here's what's going on. Solaria is the one transporting everything. Solaria has been taken to the other side by being killed by Ritter and Galvatron, or Ritter and the Regent. But Solaria is an ancient being, and she's an Invid. So she has energy being powers. The energy being side of her just goes energy. Solaria is the entity that could become Marlene from the Robotech, from the Shadow Chronicles, and from the Invid invasion, from the Generation, Mass Climber, Metsopedia. And she's the same person. She's the same entity. So she actually has a side of her that's non-corporeal, can fly around and do stuff. Not have kids, but can fly around and do... Because she is an energy being, she can put her energy in something else. So I thought it would be a fun gag to do a scene where she manifests Aslan. And it's like many years ago, and I bought those action figures around the time that the niece and nephew were young. I bought them action figures. I almost bought myself some. But I went to the Target store, and for some reason the clerk was disgusted that I was going to buy Chronicles of Narnia action figures. And I was like, why is this clerk disgusted at me wanting to buy action figures? I could have kids. I could have bought them. They could love this movie. They could love it a lot. Maybe he's a flaming atheist. I don't know. But it was for scenes like this. This scene like is hilarious, and it's also creepy and dark at the same time. So it's hilarious. It's dark comedy. The idea is that Bowie and the kids aren't scaring the bad guys. This weird thing behind them, the two ladies standing up. Maya's spirit is there in the realm, and also Mylene as Solaria, and she's in the background. I wanted to also convey that Miria runs to the kids, and she is zapped there. I wanted to convey that they're zapped there. That the shapings of the protoculture on Hadon 4 helped them, intervened with their civil war, and just went and pulled them all there, which would make that scene in the next scene make sense. Like the ghosts, the gods intervened, basically. Yeah, we have the demigods intervened. They said, all right, we're going to help you this one time. Zap. And the first thing they did to show that they were powerful is when Dana wanted her kitty cat to rescue him. Her kitty cat was transformed into a actual living Aslan lion, who then proceeded to eat one of the bad guys. That would scare them off more so than Bowie would with his cyberpunk outfit. That's what scared them. They were like, oh shit, it's a lion. It's going to eat us. We better run. We don't know why it's a talking lion, but it's a talking lion. It's going to eat us. Okay, even though, yes, C.S. Lewis was a little nuts, so was Tolkien. But having that gag in there, okay, maybe it sounds a little resonant for Sunday, but it works in the context of the story, because clearly Solaria / Mylene and Maya have conjured it for them. There may be a device, maybe that there isn't a device, and maybe that it's a connection to the protoculture and the humans want to get a hold of it. The doppelgangers want to have that so they can go to the other universe. That's probably what's going on, I guess. But yeah, they basically rescue them and then zap the Robotech people to them as their last widow effort. And Miria, who is Zentradi, can sense the masters and the shapings of the protoculture. And she can sense that, oh, my Solaria are over there. What? She's like, and she has an epiphany with her daughter there, ending the scene. To be like, oh yeah, she really does trust her mother. It's just that she's a kid and she doesn't understand what's going on. And now the mother kind of does. She's like, what's going on? And then we have a lead moment similar to Never-Ending Story type of thing with Padme there. Padme Mylene, the twin appears. There's a twin apparently. And she appears, or a twin-like. She's right after Dana. She's like a year after Dana. She's not a twin. She's just another. Yeah, it would be a year after Dana. And she's like Aurora's missing sister, Mylene. And she's present in Shadow Chronicles, so in that universe she lives. Or it's just Aurora pretending to be her. It's probably just Aurora pretending to be her, and the other Mylene is in there. But yeah, it's interesting. I thought that was cool, so I decided to film that. It does add a few minutes to the episode, but it fixes a continuity gap, which would be, how did they get there? Kind of have to show that, and show and tell that, and I think it's awesome that it's, the Aslan is the coolest part of the Chronicles of Narnia, but yes, he's also been present in Transtech. He was in the Transtech. He was the lion ship pilot of I think it was it Springer's ship or something? He had like a wrecker. There was a wrecker ship coming to save the Autobots, and it was Springer and somebody else. The Sandstorm. I think it was Sandstorm, and he was on the ship in that one too. just because we wanted to have a pilot that was a talking lion. Yes, and the voice is similar to that of the Regent because it's the same actor. It's not really Liam Neeson. No. I tried my best to do the voice. Um, but yes, so they wished for, so the device, if they have the device, and it's not implicitly said they do, it's that the house just has a connection to the shapings, and that there's a yin and yang aspect as well, in that the Ritter and the Invids and the others are like shadow people, but there's illumination people as well, and she's one of them. She's a dimensional being that has been notified by the others and decided, and Celeria also has decided, I'm not gonna follow the evil guys anymore. I'll follow the good guys. So she changes, or has a change of heart or spirit, or when it decides, you know what, yeah, this is stupid. I decided to intervene here because I like you guys, so when I do that, yeah, it's God did it, but that's kind of what he was implying, but didn't expand on in the stories, and it doesn't always happen. In the other ones, it's darker, and the gangs chase them around the city and stuff. But in this story, I wanted to establish that the household was not completely crazy and insane, and it was just that they're teenagers. Some of them are half human. They have connections to the space entities, and creatures, and of light and darkness and stuff. And so they're unusual. Yeah. Dromes is not evil. She's just a military counselor on the base. But yes, it's just like, yeah, I thought that would be cool, so I did that, and it'll connect to the other stories, and that they'll have, okay, they are actually looking for something. They're looking for like a spiritual device. They probably, doppelgangers probably don't realize that there isn't a human-built cloaking device to go to the spiritual realm. It's just that they have the energy like them, and they can deflect their plans, like the energy field from the previous story. The energy, the chi field in here. Very, very Taoist Japanese thing. Thrown in with God imagery from several other things, including Christianity, with a lion showing up. But yeah, that's her human side. That's Max's side. Max's side was the lion, which disappeared after it ate one of the bad guys. Rick Hunter's like, oh, why does this guy look? Yes. Why is there a guy on the ground that looks like he's been torn up by a leonine character or something? He's fucking dead. He didn't. Ew, I just dropped an F. Yay! It's scrambled. He's fracking dead. But yes, one of the bad guys got mauled. He's dead. And oddly enough, it's a shipwreck figure from Transtech. So he gets shipwreck torpedo. Gets torpedoed. It's not really him. It's a doppelganger. Disguised as. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Oh, behind the scenes. Yeah. This guy used to be Strawberg. This Mrs. Strawberg. But that action figure sucks. Really bad. So I'd rather her be either Farrington or the other person, so she can just lie there the whole time. And let's get the Strawberg that you chose to be the new Strawberg, because she's a better action figure. She won't just fall over. So, yeah, whoever that is. Also, Jameson and Strawberg are also very interchangeable in terms of their powers and abilities. So we've got Farrington and the other one. Whoever the third one is, it's not supposed to be Strawberry. It's some other person. And he's got like this, and the police force is a triumvirate of Volgas, which is bizarre. just saying it. It's kind of bizarre. Yeah. Anyway, so there they are. And, yeah, we're going to get Strawberg and Jameson in here. I think we already introduced Jameson, so we'll have to find her. Yeah. So, yeah. So the original Volga is Strawberg. Strawberg's wife. So apparently in this universe, because the Zentradi of 2009-2012 came earlier and met the Transformers instead of fighting with the humans, creating a different timeline where things happen differently. In this timeline, Strawberg was some sort of mad scientist maverick guy, yes, but he found out about Zentradi cloning technology, and he cloned his dead wife, brought her back to life, and cloned her like 3 more times because he wanted companions. And yeah, so that's what's going on. So that's how I figure what's going on. Back to the show. Segment of the evening, most likely. It's a brief scene with our Decepticon friends before we get to the Dana's insane at this point story, which we might get to. But let's go with the Galvatron, and yeah, I think this is it for Sunday evening. I think the hospital scene is a different room. It's set up differently. The aftermath type of thing. Yeah, so it's set up differently. Everything's different. So I'd like to not do that tonight. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, we got to page 78. We did about 13 pages, roughly. So, yeah, not quite, halfway through a 20-page episode. Yeah. Usually it's an episode a day, but today was weird. So, anyway, so there's not much else, except for the clone thing with Strawberg and wife. Those are all Volgas. And the idea is that in this universe, Strawberg did die at some point, probably around the same time, but not before he was actually able to clone his wife because of the Zentradi that were around. They helped him clone because they have clone technology. Because they appeared on Earth in this universe around the time of Robotech Wars, but the Robotech War didn't happen. So 2008, 2009, around there. So they were there. They of course changed the outcome of that completely. There was an SDF-1 and there was an SDF-2. They just didn't. The world didn't get destroyed by the Zentradi and then the Invid. A little bit of the Masters. That didn't happen in this universe. Yeah. Has Kal Kat ever encountered any psychic people? Well, there was a distant cousin named of Sylvia Brown. Yes. Yes, we encountered her before. She thought the Toys R Us was haunted and stuff like that. Also, at one point, there was a comic shop in Milpitas, Black Cat Comics, when it had moved to Main Street in Milpitas, by where the Milpitas Monster was filmed. A lot of it was filmed on the street. This is many years later, though. This is like the 2000s. And there was a palm reader next door. And it was chortling to myself about there's a palm reader next door. And I happened to go in there to the newly reopened Space Cat. They moved from some other location. Palm reader was in there, and she looked kind of annoyed. And I was like, "Oh, that's the palm reader lady. Oops, sorry." Huh. Yeah, but you didn't. If you were psychic, you would have known that I was going to come in here and do that. And she chuckled at that, walked out. She didn't know that. See, if she was really psychic, she would have. This guy's going to come in the room and make fun of palm reading. I'm going to detect it in my mind. Yeah. I liked how I ad-libbed a line in this one saying like the mentalist type of Strawberg lady is actually cold reading. She's not really a psychic. She's cold reading. So that's what they do. They cold read. They cold read and they hot read. So basically they just guess through human nature. They're good at reading human nature, which somebody with Asperger's or autism is not good at. But they're very good at it. They can read, they're not reading your mind. They're just able to tell from little intonations and flinches and whatever. For instance, they can guess you have a dead relative if you're old. They'll guess you have to tell, or they'll guess somebody in your family died of cancer. They'll go from there, or they'll guess somebody had cancer, or they'll do something like that because everybody had one. There's just a coincidence. Everybody has one. They'll guess other things like that. They guess what the clothes you're wearing. They'll guess whether you like a certain thing or not. And you won't realize that you're wearing those clothes that are reflecting that thing, but they do. They can tell. And they're not really psychic, they're just guessing. The implication is that when Strawberg cloned his dead wife, Allison, that he that the Zentradi cloning worked on the first clone, but the other ones were a little less. They were copies of copies, so they were a little less. But he wanted a bunch of them. So I'm assuming Cholomsky's accent is fake, as well as Farrington and the other assistant, and that they're just pretending to sound like that after being grown in a maturation vat as clones, which is funny. Or she was raised among like New York people for whatever reason. Maybe different labs got a Cholomsky or whatever. Those are Volgas. Because back in the day, in the 90s, the G.I. Joe figures, they didn't really put out too many of the girl ones. Lady J and Scarlet and Zorana and Baroness, yeah, but they didn't have a whole lot of the other ones. They put out ones later, in the late 90s and early 2000s. There was a resurgence of them. Now they've gone a step backward, and now they're done by the Reflector Company, and their legs don't bend. The original Joe figures, the legs bent. They had a little O-ring inside. O-ring. There was a little ring inside, and it would hold the arms and legs together. Apparently, it's too complex for modern Joe figures. Although I think they could figure it out. I think they could do it with plastic. They don't need a ring. They could do like they did in 2007 or so when they had sort of a faux ring. The ring was actually plastic and it was inside, and the chest would swing around like the guy that's playing Max Sterling in this. He's got kind of that chest thing. See, this is a newer one. It's from the 25th anniversary line, and he's got sort of this swivel chest thing because the O-ring is actually plastic in here, and it goes around here and it connects to the back. And I guess it's more expensive, so they couldn't do that. And then they have this, I believe the late 2000, early 2000 version, which sort of has the ring up the inside, which makes it less, yeah, it's the one that looks like J-Law. Yeah, so it goes up the inside. Now, Volga is one of the classic Aero Manager ones, and she is... It's like this, and yeah, she's got the O-ring. It's in there, and it's kind of wearing out because she's had trouble standing up. It's wearing out. So, and actually, these little Marvel Legends figures are actually kind of cool. They have the swivel, and they have the plastic ring with the. So I don't know why Marvel is still kind of associated with Hasbro and figures and stuff. And the Star Wars people, to an extent, they could do a crossover and say, okay, we're going to make your G.I. Joes for you and make them look better. They could do that instead of using a Reflector Company that made the new Roadblock. They could do that. Didn't see why they couldn't do that like immediately. And the figures would cost more than $15, but people would buy them if they were collectors. So yeah, I guess the larger ones might be articulated, but I don't know. I do have the larger version of Lady J from like the 2 years ago line that started. It's in the box. Yeah. Didn't open it up. Yeah. So yeah, it looked like it was to scale with the larger Marvel Legends. Yeah. Yeah. Articulation shouldn't be a problem in 2023. It should all be fully articulated. That shouldn't be a problem. But for some reason it is. Yeah, it's sort of like them complaining on this one on the Retro Blaster channel about the other channel about the he's complaining about the Spectre creative guy who actually worked for one of the He-Man lines. Complaining, oh, what does he know? Oh, well, he worked for them over there at Mattel. He worked for them, so he knows. No, it can't be. And then he was going on about the Bantha, the HasLab stuff. They're going to be a HasLab stuff. They complaining that the fans didn't raise enough money to go to the HasLab and get their Bantha done, and there was only a prototype. Which again is an articulation thing, and it's like, so what? I mean, you can't blame HasLab for your Kickstarter that didn't happen. They saw that it didn't make enough money, so they didn't make it. And also, that ridiculous refrigerator-sized Unicron is an awesome idea, but $600? Oh my, no, 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 no. Guys, no, no, no. It's too much. Now, if HasLab would like to send me, Robo Sapien Prime and a Unicron for free, I'll review them, but they won't do that. Anyways, and no, I do not have a Bantha, so yeah. I don't have any. I have some Star Wars figures. There's 2 Padmes in there. And I had the blue backpack, the Anakin kid, the one that people want. That's in there. Yeah, I opened him. He's in the back. Oh well. But yeah. Other than that, they're not worth much of anything. There's a lot of peg warmers, but yeah, there's still a Star Wars thing out there. Well, it means one of two things. It means people aren't buying some of the OG reprints because they're reprints. It also means, well, if it's still in the store, that people are buying some of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't put them on the shelf. So if you see like some He-Man figures up there, they're selling them. See some Transformers up there, they're selling these ones specifically. They're not selling the other ones. Like these guys or those other guys or whatever. Not a lot of Beast Hunter, Beast stuff. War of the Beast, mostly the cheaper stuff for the younger kids. Yeah, Beast stuff. There were some Target clunky ones. I didn't buy them. But yeah, I want Nightbird and Scourge especially. Maybe the Primal, but haven't done it yet. anyway, so yeah, but yeah, not in this movie. No. But here, weird Dana story. You figure after the weird incident with the ghosts in the beginning of the story that it would have driven them insane, because it kind of would have. Yeah, and also back to the story. There's the ghosts. Asleen in the story is just Alison Starbird. That's who that is. So note that. It's just there's just another name for her. It's just it's just her. It's not a change. It's in the script like that. In the script, her name was just Ashleen, and not Alison Starbird. It was somebody else. It was Ashleen. I'm assuming that T.L. Ahrens knew a bunch of people, and he was writing an empowerment fantasy of his buddies, and one of them had mental problems and was and committed apparently briefly. That's probably what was going on. Or he was making a brilliant spoof of Harry Potter and saying that Harry Potter world was actually an insane asylum, and they weren't really magicians; they were just insane. Of which this could be as well. The parts with the Decepticons seem to be added by Kal Kat. Yeah. They probably weren't even there. But yes, because he didn't really concentrate on the Decepticons. Yes. You can tell the parts are added by Kal Kat. I tried to blend it in, but it kind of doesn't. Oh, well. Anyway, that's all we got for the evening. Okay, we're going to begin filming on Monday here on page 79. Slight script revision addressing the weird thing that happened to Dana earlier. That they have the counselor in the dock. And the dock nurse, instead of the other two, I decided to throw these two in here. I want a scene of them trying to make sense of what happened, earlier. I don't know. I don't think I should write it down necessarily. Just a little clip. So we're gonna do that, and yeah. So, yeah, this is kind of from a distance. They're not. The Robotech people showed up about an hour after the break-in, but the kids reporting that they somehow fought off the bad guys with a giant lion. You know what? I'm going to write this down. It'll make it easier to do, because it's going to be all fumbly. Hold on, cut. Basically, what I was okay. So basically, what I was getting at with those two scenes in the end of the break-in, because the story didn't visualize like what was going on and how they escaped properly. It appears they just left, like the other bad guys in the other story did. And so the idea that they conjured the lions, supposed to be Aslan from, it's Aslan from Chronicles of Narnia, and the other idea that that Bowie somehow yelled at them and chased them away. Bowie didn't do it. The bad guys are conversing with the kids. So I filmed it in such a way, adding that other part, the fantastical. Oh, they transported the heroes there to and all that on yesterday. I'm thinking like, well, that doesn't quite go with what's going to happen next. So I kind of have to retcon that, but in a creative way, in a way that Twin Peaks would have done it, but also in a way that the Mentalist would have done it. So how about we imply that to the children in that state, the bad guys had said they threw the drugs at the ant, they sprayed the drugs into the air. The drugs have been messing with their minds, basically. So you could interpret that all of them, even the bad guys, and remember, two of them were wearing a helmet, like a mask, protect them from the drugs. The one guy that was attacked wasn't wearing a mask. He was knocked over. And the other guys were all wearing a mask. So they could have been protected from the exposure. And the idea is that you could interpret it either way. You could say maybe the ghosts in the ethereal plane and the protoculture and the aliens of light, not the aliens of shadow, went and helped the kids. And behind the scenes there were angels, and they transformed their cat into a lion and had it attack the bad guys. So the bad guys wanted to leave. Or you could interpret it as, from the adult's perspective, that the bad guys didn't get what they wanted. They had sprayed the drugs all over the house, and they were like, and they hit the ant with it, and they probably were getting a little high, so they're like, well, they obviously don't have it, let's just go. So it's less that Bowie and the kids fended them off, and more like Bowie and the kids just, in their minds, because things were happening and stuff was in the air, that they interpreted this as, oh, we sent out heroic angels to save us. Which would explain Miria's reaction, their reaction, if you wanted to be logical about it. You could interpret that angels and lions and things were actually fighting them, or you could interpret it as the drug was doing it. Either way. And that's kind of cool. So yeah, how did the guy get mauled? And so in the dialogue here, they mention that, and the other guys in the dialogue that isn't going to film, they mention that, and they can't explain that. So that also hints to the reader, maybe something like that did happen, and they just don't believe the kids, because Dana's crazy in this timeline. Really, really crazy. And maybe they just don't believe that, or Dana and Aurora saw that, and that happened. And that's an interesting twist. And you can interpret it either way. And I like that it's interpretable either way. That they're, and they imply that the heroes arrived a little later than the kids thought, and saved them, but and that they did agree with them because they were exposed, but also they agreed with them because of their parents and their friends. So yeah, you could interpret it either way, and that's kind of cool. So let's do the scene. I've made this guy the Doc, even though I think he's supposed to be. Well, he's not the same guy as in the other scene. He's a clone. Ah. Yeah, he's a clone. He's Doc, the clone. There's lots of clones on the planet. It's 8 on 4. So yeah, he is the clone, in case you wanted to know who that is. Yeah. So I guess that's behind the scenes. Okay, this is a scene in the cargo bay on the ship, I guess, or base. Yeah, so yeah, let's do it. So, yes, that is it for the evening. It is after 9, so 9:30. I'm gonna stop production now and do the aftermath of Hope getting abducted and Magnus getting shot in the chest, full on by a blue guy from the original Robotech from the future. Ah, and we also get to see the G.I. Joe that was fired. This is the G.I. Joe that was fired. I found him, and he was fired. As you can see, only currently his his head has been covered in red magic marker. But he was worse off before. Took most of the red magic marker off of the rest of him. But yeah. His head looks like he's been blasted, right? His brain's coming out. He's a zombie. To the doppelganger zombie. He's command of the blue guy. Yes. He's not a main bad guy. He's just in the... Thinking like they're next to the blue guy and they're like instructing him from afar. They're pulling the strings. Pull the strings. Yes, and we didn't quite make it to the end of the 97 pages. We didn't quite make it to the end of the episode. I did make it pretty far. It's about 97, 96. We're going to stop for the evening because this is a good place to stop. And tomorrow we'll do... tomorrow we'll get a lot done. We get at least another 20 pages done. Hopefully finish book 2 by Thursday. That would be awesome. And then put it in the can. And then do book 3 after that. So, yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really straightforward. The mystical stuff that's going on with them seeing stuff that's going on and Esper powers and all that. They're implying that the planet has the ability to enhance their Esper powers. So that's what's going on. Is normally on Earth, the clones of Alison Strawberg wouldn't have any powers at all. But because they're on a planet where their mental abilities are enhanced by a weird space energy field that connects them. It kind of works. It makes them have psychic premonitions and hallucinations and stuff. But it would wear off if they were not involved with the energy field and all that. It would wear off and they wouldn't be psychic anymore. But because it's a collective on the planet, the Trojan idea. It didn't say Trojan horse in the script, but that's what they meant. So yeah, the transition there is a little weird between what Magnus and them were doing. They sent them out on the mission, but that scene is a little. They're just there. But I think their dialogue indicates that there was definitely a break there. That when Magnus and Hope are talking, that they went somewhere else on patrol. That's evident from the talking that they went on patrol. And apparently the bad guys were not directly after the airport thing. They were after them, which is interesting. Which is consistent with the other attack from the other story. After them. They wanted Hope for whatever reason. Probably because their drug is called Joyous. Or Joys. Having no relation to any Joys. There was a lady about my age named Joy that was in a cast. And now there's a kid that's named Joy, and she's younger. But it's not any relation. Yeah, it's a coincidence. The story was written in 2003, so it's a coincidence. Yeah, so this person was probably thinking of Inside Out. So it would have been around that time. Maybe Inside Out was a little later, though. Inside Out was before. Maybe it was, maybe. I don't know what he's thinking of. I don't really know what he's thinking of. He's thinking it would be funny if there was a drug named Joy. It's probably ecstasy. That's probably what he's thinking of. Except it has mental powers. Kind of weird. Anyway, so, that's it for the evening, then. So the Strawbergs, even though the clones have decreasingly powerful powers, and Ashleen is supposed to be a third person, and there's a triumvirate there. I decided to make the third person, the Farrington and Ashleen and the other one are actually So it's in the script that there are 3 or 4 of them, and they are similar, and they're like doppelgangers, but the good guy ones. So yeah, that's in there, but I envisioned it a little differently than the script. Yes, I know that there's some art stuff from this story, from the Testament stories of the doppelgangers and the potboiler cop and all that. They're a little different than this version, than this adaptation. I didn't want to do exactly what they did with their adaptation of Testament. Yeah, theirs is more like pictures and stuff. They did a couple of graphic novel type pictures, but not the whole story. This is more ambitious, no whole story. And of course, it's a not dumbed down, but it's an edited down version of Testament, because we couldn't actually do the version exactly as he did it. It would get kicked off YouTube. So yeah, there's a lot cut out. We couldn't break the GI Joes and have them flying across the screen and stuff like that, and break humans and kill them and stuff, and break their minds. We can break their minds a little bit though. We can't do that because they're plastic. But yes, and yeah, the burger. There's a Sean Burger line because this was originally supposed to take place on Earth. So I retconned. I added a line where she says, "Well, this can't be it. It's a different planet." But there is something buried over there, and the symbolism of the other people being buried behind them off to the side is symbolic and reminiscent of the other scene with the heroes and the villains and the ghosts hiding off to the side. And it's on the stage. It's on the theater. It's like a stage. So yeah, the idea is that they're going to look over the stage, to the edge of the stage there, to stage left, and see, oh my goodness, look what happened over there. Stage left. Yeah. Even though the audience sees there's a pile of bones over there. A pile of dead G.I. Joes over there. The audience sees it. And it's sort of symbolic of the ghosts they're seeing. Yeah, so they're not looking directly at it until they're looking directly at it. Yeah, it's mentalist. There was another show too. Medium was done that time period. Also, so there was a bunch of other cop shows where they threw in a psychic, and because it's silly, because a psychic really doesn't do anything for cops. A psychic is just a person rooking them. Like, ooh, there could have been a murder there. Well, the town probably has a lot of those. Yeah, lady, sure. But yeah, in this universe, they go to a planet where that kind of happens. But that's okay, because some of this was discussed earlier at the convention, and the idea that, oh, there's going to be psychics in this, but we're not really going to, mind readers and stuff. But yeah, we're like, oh, no, we're going to play with that, because it's a planet where the forces on the planet, like the shapings and stuff, are messing with it. So, again, that indistinguishable from magic scene idea, the technology that made the Invit and uplifted them, and uplifted the Haydenites, that technology affects humanoids as well, and so they are pulled into it as well. It's technology, it's not magic, it's not mind reading, they're just, technology is messing with them. And that's possible to have technology that messes with them. There's ways to jam the human brain and stuff. You just can't, even now, but there's nothing like in science fiction like this story. There are ways to do that. There are certain frequencies, for instance, of, I remember an X-Files episode where they found that irritating noise that they kept hearing the X-Files, and they track it to where the irritating noisemaker was, and Mulder went up there and found it and everything. You could do that with the human brain. You could have like a barely audible noise, like a dog whistle noise, but to humans, and it will drive them nuts in a room, and it'll mess with their minds. It'll drive them nuts. They'll be, what's that noise? What's that noise? Nuts. Until they figure out what the noise is and shut it off. But yeah. So it's not so much them reading their mind, but it's more them reading. Or you can show people certain colors or patterns and mess with them. Like certain epileptics are sensitive to light. You show them a lot of lights and flashes and stuff, and they get wonky and sick, and they don't like that. So auditory ones, you can do the same thing. You can have like a auditory So it's conceivable you could have something like that if it was a technology that developed beyond that, and they had the ability to go 0.5% beyond humanity's known intelligence and figure out how to do that. They could mess with their brain patterns if they could map all of that somehow on the electricity in the brain. Even though you can't really send electricity in and out of the brain, that's impossible. But in a sci-fi story, if you could do that, you could literally mess with their head from a distance and have kinetic powers. Which you really wouldn't, but you could in science fiction. Yeah, there's no such thing as a remote control that messes with your head. Otherwise, evil villains would come up with a way to use it, if there actually was. They could be like, oh, ha, 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 ha. Usually it's a frequency. It's a sound frequency, just below audible hearing for most people. And that's usually how they do it. Or it's lights, or it's some kind of lights. Subliminal messages. Not subliminal messages so much in movies back in the day. It was just liminal messages. You'd hide stuff in advertising and things like certain colors connote certain things to the brain. Like in propaganda, if you have a lot of red, you're connoting alert and anger and aggression in the Western culture, at least. If you put in Eastern culture, you might get royalty or something, or fealty or something else out of that. In Western culture, if it's blue, it connotes calm yeah. Like in hospitals where it's like a green or a yellow, it's trying to connote calm there too, but in a different way. It's quiet, more of a quiet color. Yeah, there's a color thing. There's a color map thing, which is probably all BS, but some of it is something to that. Yeah, if you painted a hospital room bright red, you would drive the patients to death quickly. If you painted it black, even more so. But if you made the room white or off-white, it would be calming, which is why, yeah, you don't paint a hospital room bright pink or bright red, bright yellow. Yeah, so, yeah, there's something to that. Yeah, so I remember old movies that tried to be subliminal messages, and they discovered they didn't have to do that. They could just put liminal messages and stuff. It works. It's a product placement in a movie. The main actress just whipped out a Coke can, and he's like, yum. He sips it. It's like, okay, yeah, product placement. Made fun of brilliantly in Spaceballs and Jurassic Park. Mainly in Spaceballs. The product, yeah. Merchandising. What's that? This is where the real money from the movie is made. Ironically, there was no merchandising for Spaceballs because Lucasfilm was like, no, we don't want you to do that. Not for real. Spaceballs, the lunchbox. Spaceballs, the doll. May I once be with you. Yes, great movie, Spaceballs. This is not that. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for the evening. I know this making of is going to be very long, but we are talking about the movie, so it's fine. Yeah, stopping for the evening. We're getting to the end of this episode at last, and we come to this episode. That means we're about 106, page 106, 107, and then there's a new episode, Joy's Ride. This episode ends with a kaiju showing up. But we're already introduced to the blue guy earlier. It was an earlier version of that, and had powers and could shape-shift and shift through time shift and stuff like that. Other guy could. Ritter. It's not Ritter, though. So, yeah, even though I have the Trypticon over here, and he's probably at the end of the story, I would rather have it be the guy that we're familiar with in the other scenes, because otherwise there's a weird continuity thing where you have... Yeah, where you'd have, oh, we're going to introduce another bigger bad guy that shows up at the last 10 seconds. That's a cliche. I won't do that. It's the same guy from the other scenes. He's threatening them all. He's a robot. He's threatening them all. And that makes more sense, visually, as a story. They're going to defeat that guy from that episode. Yeah, don't do like the end of The Mandalorian 20 years later and have Cad Bane show up in the last episode because, ooh, Cad Bane's scary. In this case, it's like, well, he does show up at the last part of the episode, but this blue guy, but he's not a Veritech. He is the aliens have made up a Veritech from their memory banks, and it's attacking them. It's a character. Teravec is the name of him. And he's Veritech. Teravec, Veritech. Totally works. Yeah. It would be a nod to Carta as well. He was in Carta as well as Teravec, who was more like a sort of half-assed T-Rex crossed with a Godzilla, crossed with a bus, which is funny. So yeah, but in this one, it's just the attack robot that the doppelgangers have gotten hold of, and it's going after them. So that's the end of this episode, and this episode is the second hour. This will end the second hour, and then it's on to the third hour. So, yeah. And as you can see, to scale, 155 scale, the Henshin Robo, that's a G1 Henshin Robo from the Korean version of Robotech. It still exists. And that's a G1 Jetfire back there. That's I believe this is the one of the shoulder issue instead of the backpack issue. The shoulder issue. So yeah, it is slightly smaller as a Veritech. So yeah, when they said slightly smaller but more chunky. When they said smaller Veritech is the Alpha and Beta fighter, it should be a little smaller. But yeah, it is smaller without the smokestacks. They put all the jets and stuff in it though. And it's unlike any fighter plane known. But yeah, it's sort of an interesting like twist on fighter planes, whereas Jetfire is clearly an F-14 or possibly an F-15. It's a sweep wings though, so I think it's an F-15. Yeah, the Tomcat, but it has the wings. It's like a Tomcat-esque ship, even though I don't think the Japanese inherited very many of those, but I guess they liked them not to put them in the cartoon. But yeah, that's a classic G1 engine robo. So we didn't want to beat him up too bad. You can see he's very faded and he's been in the sun. But yeah, that's Blue Guy from season 1. There were two. There was one that is missing a head, and the head was found and stuck back on. And this is the other one. This is the one that's not too bad. I just thought I would point that out. That's actually the guy from the blue guy from Transtech, and he's playing a bad guy. They've commandeered a Veritech, apparently. This is the end of that scene, and the next one will be called Joy's Ride, of no relation to anybody named Joy currently. Joy's Ride, and yeah, so. And there's a scene where Gunther shows up again, the helm guy. And I don't think that's supposed to be him. I think that should be somebody else like Exodor or something. So yeah, note that. That should not be Gunther. He wouldn't be in the staff meeting. Why would he be in the staff meeting? He would not be in the... Even with Sparks, really. I know there's a similar behind-the-scenes-y thing that does happen after the Rick Hunter meeting, where they're all surprised that she was taken, but it's too vague. So I decided that show and tell that we would, at the end of this sequence, as we get into the next story, she's already been taken. So let's do that. Also, they imply in the story that the doppelgangers were there to take her, but she phase shifted instead. So they were trying to kidnap her, but she disappeared, which is consistent with what's in the script. That something is watching out for her. The planet, the universe, whatever. It's in the story. The lion, the floating lion cat, yeah, and all that stuff. The lion cat was not necessarily in the script, but there are characters like that in the script, and they could be that character. So. Because she's kind of nuts and she's imagining things. Or is she nuts, or is her awareness just heightened by the perturbatory awareness of the shapings of the planet? The Haydenite shapings, which are either shadow or light. So it could be that the Haydenite shapings are looking out for her across space and time and on the planet. And that their powers are heightened. Like they're normally their mental powers wouldn't work on Earth or anywhere else, but because the planet has a heightened awareness. Also, the space drug also doesn't help really, but it does give them something. So that's kind of cool. It's like implying that okay, she's there. Yeah, there's something looking out for something or other. It's technology though, as they point out there. Like well, it's probably technology. It's probably something to do with tech. Tech war. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, the tape needs to charge anyway. So yeah. So this is what we got so far. All the way up to the end of this episode. Well, then we're doing more. Looks like we're on page 109 to start out on the next one, and yeah, so I think it works. I think it. Now we needed that little bit at the end just to say like, oh my gosh, something happened into the scene right here. Scene 115, on page 115, and yeah, into the third hour, and let's do this. The premise as shot in the story, there's an Ash Lane, so it's Aslan in the story. But also we have Jameson. The idea of what's going on is that the manifestations that are happening to her, she has a different form of the manifestations. She's actually able to conjure things out of thin air. It's not necessarily hallucinations, it's more like it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. She has hyperkinetic powers, apparently, but they're not psychic, they're hyperkinetic powers. She doesn't realize this, and that actually lends credence to the scene earlier when she conjured the cat Aslan guy into reality. Yeah, it's convoluted, but it's kind of in the story like that, because they have this other character that's kind of like him running around. So I thought, what if it is him, and it's just continuing the story with that. It's also a shaping. So the alien planet heightens your Esper powers, like the Wrath planet would heighten your powers and whatever. And so, and it affects transdetectors and humans, and they reveal that Jameson is a transdetector of somebody, and that she's a humanoid machine, cyborg, and she's power. She's actually reached out and contacted her. And she's surprised. They're both surprised because the planet has enhanced her powers tenfold. It makes her powers like better. Also, the scene with Regis is real. Dana has encountered the Regis in the planet, and Muck and Shrap are real. So they're whatever hallucinations she's having of all those other people. These three are just watching her trip balls, and they're like, oh shit! Oh, we should tell our leader about it. So that part's real. Regis is real. Muck and the other guy are real, and they're all there. And they're like, oh shit, she got away. So they don't know how she got away, but they sense it a little bit. And Regis being a little bit of an Esper character as well, especially with robots, not so much with humans. She senses the other transdetector lady, and is like, oh great. So after the other one left, then I had a scene where she's riding the cat as well, indicating that she's connected with the other plane of existence that's going on throughout the whole series. There's an ethereal plane thing going on, and when they went to that other, Ritter showed them the plane, and that enhanced them more on this planet, on Hadon 4, the planet of that Transformers-like planet, where they have the shadows and the light and that kind of thing, and that they're probably uplifted alien beings that have gone beyond their nature, transformed. The Invid therefore wouldn't. Yeah, the Invid are a dark version of that, but they're sort of like looking for the shadows and whatever. It's a little weird, but it works. Also, yeah. But that works because they're like, okay, they're darkness, but they think they're light, and they transform into energy beings, which would be typical of any kind of Luciferian alien. They would think that. Yeah. So you have like, pseudo-biblical bits in here, including Aslan showing up. But it's part of the story. It's not just that Kal Kat wanted to go in here and say, I want my Narnia figures to appear in the story. It wasn't just that, and Padme Amidala, of course, but Star Wars figures too. But to have it'd actually be part of the story, that this is a character that's conjured in the story, and so it works. And also, Disney owns it. Or yeah, so we could do that. Um, but yes, but yeah, so actually, this is a fan film, and it's parody and it's spoof. It's not taken seriously. But yeah, the scary parts were scary. Yeah, so this is the yeah, we're gonna do this. Continue to do this. But first lunch, then come back to it. Have a slight weird edit because we never see these guys again in this scene, even though they helped with their powers or whatever. So there's going to be a little bit of them in the background just to convey that they were around. You just didn't see them. They didn't have any lines. A quip, perhaps. Yeah. Well, here we are on here. I'm just going to be brief. We just wrapped principal. I got a typo. I'm going to be brief. We just wrapped principal photography on book 2 of Robotech Meets the Sentinels. Today was a full day shoot of filming, and we knocked out the remaining 35 pages of the story that were left over. So a little bit over an episode and a half, starting at like 9 in the morning or something, which was insane, and now it's probably like 9:30 now. Don't normally do that. That's normally a Chimera schedule. But now that we've wrapped production, we're not even going to check the dailies, really. Not doing any more extra filming tonight. We'll leave the set the way it is in case there's anything in the morning. Coming to the end of part 2. And then we'll jump into part 3 and do that. First one to assemble part 2 and put it up online. So it's up. But then we'll go on to part 3. The part 2 was an easier shoot. Silly Kelly shoot. Because it was put everything in order and shot things and said, okay, we're going to stop whenever the camera's like doing something goofy, don't waste as much film. Half the film was wasted instead of a lot the first time around. Made sure to set up the scenes a little better. It took a little longer. It seemed to take a little longer to set up the scenes a little better and make them look more, like we're going to have everyone in frame when we start out, so that we know, okay, they move out. They're not going to move out of frame. A lot of the scenes, there's not a lot of action in part 2. It's mostly mind games and cop drama and stuff. It's not really The Mentalist. I kept saying The Mentalist. That was later, so it couldn't have been. It's probably like a Medium, which was around that time period. It's probably more like there were a number of other shows like that. There were and the idea in the story was that the planet, like the Wrath planet from Transformers Mush stories, the planet enhanced whatever abilities they had. So that's what was going on. So they enhanced the abilities. The bad guys did have a device. It was a mass shift device, but also a projection device that apparently Dana ate during the house invasion scene, and it connected with her because it was both in and out of the universe, and the shapings connected with her. So it enhanced her hallucinations later on, but it also made them physical manifest into reality. It made her thoughts create reality. So when she wished for her cat to be Aslan, it was Aslan. It's part of the story, actually. It was said to be somebody else, but decided, why not have it just be that? I have an Aslan. Why not use it? So yeah, and it popped up a few other times, but it was a manifestation. So it wasn't like even though it could be real, it really wasn't. But it was apparently a shadow force disguised as an illumination force. At one point, he reveals to the bad guy, what evil lurks in the hearts of beings, the shadow knows. Scaring the bad guys into probably pooping himself. But yes, he's a shadow creature. But sort of. Well, the planet is the Hadenite planet, so shadows and light and stuff. Robot planet. Hadenites, mechanized
biomechanical creatures, similar to the Invid, similar to the Robotech, similar to the Masters, probably uplifted by the Masters or the previous proto-Masters, the Zor. And they're all kind of connected that way. Yeah, so anyway, really there's not much else to say other than that cool scene. And she ate it, and they didn't explain that the hospital part blew up. And that explains it too, because apparently she barfed it up when they got to the hospital, and when she barfed it up, it fell out and out of her, but she was still under the influence of the space planet, whatever that stuff. She wasn't really doing drugs. The aliens messed with her, and they gave her stuff. Now, the character was not actually doing that. Yeah, so the space alien, the alien virus, whatever. So yeah, so there's your, and then they're all kind of messed up at the end. It's left like The Empire Strikes Back, kind of like, oh no, what's gonna happen next? Yeah, we're gonna figure. Of course, we gotta figure out what happens next. And our version is a version of the Sentinels. So yeah, we're gonna go into that later after I watch the whole thing. It's all assembled. I'll do like an after thing again. I'll go out the after thing, like exploring what was going on. This one is more trippy and weird, as any middle chapter should be, trippy and weird. I think it's gonna run about 3 hours again, and yeah, we'll see. Put that together, another mini series, and you're seeing it right here at the Queen Bee 33 Studios. Yeah, yeah. So. Yeah.